Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Altec Group Global Economy and Graphite Electrode Industry March 2023 Outlook podcast. Let's begin with IMF Outlook. Outlook remains uncertain despite inflation having declined, forced by central banks have raised interest rates as per the IMF. The United States GDP in 2023 would see a downturn in 2023 to 1.6% from 2.1% in 2022. It would further slide to 1.1% in 2024. Euro area GDP deaccelerates sharply from 3.5% in 2022 to 0.8% in 23, but will improve a bit in 2024 to reach to 1.4%. Middle East and Central Asia GDP would drop from 5.3% in 2022 to 2.9% in 23, but will improve slightly in 2024 to 3.5%. Global growth to fall from 3.4% in 2022 to 2.8% in 2023, before rising slowly and settling at 3%. 5 years out, the lowest medium-term forecast in decades. Advanced economies are expected to see an especially pronounced growth slowdown from 2.7% in 2022 to 1.3% in 2023. About global inflation. Inflation is set to fall from 8.7% in 2022 to 7% in 2023 on the back of lower commodity prices. But underlying core inflation is likely to decline more slowly. Inflation's return to target is unlikely before 2025 in the most cases. Let's look at some products like Brent crude price. Brent crude futures are holding steady above $85 per barrel, pausing its ascent as the Federal Reserve projected a mild recession in the US later this year due to the recent banking turmoil, stoking concerns about future oil demand. Saudi Arabia raised crude prices for Asian markets for the first time in 6 months in the latest signal that demand could be poised to bounce on the likelihood of higher imports from China. For iron ore, prices of iron ore cargo with 63.5% iron ore content for delivery in Tianjin were above $121 per ton, rebounding from the 3-month low of $119.5 on April 7th, as the latest economic data provided some optimism around stronger future demand. Steam coal, Newcastle coal futures rebounded to above $190 per ton for lingering near 14 months low of $173 since mid-March amid renewed expectations of lower supply. LME steel scrap CFR Turkey. The negative sentiment in the Turkish market is increasing due to the drop in steel prices in China. Under such circumstances, local steel makers are afraid to produce products and buy large volumes of imported scrap. Let's have a look at HRC Steel FOB China. HRC Steel FOB China prices remaining stable for the past 2 consecutive weeks. However, export offers from India and Japan continue to remain competitive. About nickel prices, The latest data from the International Nickel Study Group shows a massive 22% year-on-year jump in January for global nickel production, driven by continued increase in Indonesian output. The agency also noted that at the current pace, mined nickel production is likely to exceed 3.2 million tons per year. About the LME aluminum price, China's annual aluminum production in 2022 increased by 4.5% from a year earlier to a record high of 40.21 million tons, thanks to newly launched capacity and softened power supply constraint. LME copper prices, the copper futures in the US fell to 4%, $4 per pound in the second week of April, the lowest in 3 weeks, as the dollar bounces off to recent lows and investors assess demand prospects. LME lead price decreased $181.6 or 7.7% since beginning of 2023. LME zinc futures dropped to $2,800 a ton, a level not seen since November 2022. A concern about weak global demand rattles investors. In China, recent data showed that the manufacturing sector lost momentum in March, sparking some worries about a slow recovery. Let's see the ferroalloy scenario. As the demand for steel plummets, so did the use of manganese ore. The demand for manganese alloys in India has dropped as a result of restricted manufacturing demand, which kept prices unchanged. About shipping industry, the freight rates in shipping industry continue to slide. Transatlantic rates are still double the 2019 levels, but have dropped 50% since last year due to steady decline since September. Some notable importers, including Nike, are still grappling with excess inventories and are reducing new order volumes, leading to lowered expectations for a recovery in ocean freight demand. Let's come to global crude steel production. World crude steel production decreased by 1% year-on-year in February 2023, reverting to positive start in January. Asia and Middle East are only regions growing year-on-year and month-over-month, avoiding the global steel production drops further. Amongst the total 10 steel producing countries, China and Iran steel production continues to increase year-on-year and month-on-month. About the capacity utilization globally as well as in US, steel capacity utilizations have been decreasing since Q4 2021. US capacity utilization is still higher than global, showing resilience. About electricity prices in Europe, these have felt significantly in the first quarter in 2023. The average quarterly price remains below euro 130 per megawatt hour in most European markets except for France, UK, and Italy. About the steel scrap prices, steel makers are trying to delay purchase of raw materials as much as possible to influence contract prices, but scrap suppliers are confident that the steel inventories are low and May order volumes are largely unfilled. So now let's have a look at graphite electrode market outlook. What we've seen in the raw materials, which is the needle coke, and that is the main raw material of graphite electrode. The needle coke prices were on a constant rise up to October 2022 and have now more or less stabilized. About the prices of graphite electrode, then graphite electrode prices have in short term decreased. So this brings us to the end of this particular edition of the podcast. We look forward to connecting with you in the next month's podcast. Thank you so much. Bye bye.